points here, we're going to shut off the blower because it's awful loud. There we go. Now we can think. The display turns on the local speaker as well as the what you call it, the display. There's status lamps for everything here. I should explain that this is the ACC pair, the ACC digital voice recorder that we use for leaving DVR mail, and this is the ACC controller itself. It indicates whether there's a received signal present. Like so. Tells when the PTT is on. Tells you when it's making a courtesy tone and whether there's PL on the signal. It's KB9AL test. Turn that down. Turn that down. Well, I changed frequencies. The KB9AL test. The auto patch is enabled, auto dial 2 bank is enabled, link 1 is enabled, link 2 is prepared to be enabled. Now, if you look over here, it tells which channel is enabled or which channel is ready to receive touch tones. It's KB9ALN test. See, link 2 came up. These are user functions that are user activated functions that we can bring up. We can tell it to turn on lights out here and things like that. Going down, this is the audio distribution center that I designed and built. We'll remove the cover for it. This distributes audio amongst all of the link transmitters, receives audio from the auto patch receiver, and in addition it distributes audio to all the transmitters, both links and the main transmitter. Doesn't look too pretty inside. This is the actual audio distribution amplifier. These are audio level adjustments to drive the digital voice recorder. This is the digital voice recorder gating system. And this was these are auxiliary timers for the DVR gate. That stuff is not really functional right now, but will be in the future. This is the voltage regulator system. Directly below it, you see this silver box. This is the solid state fan control, or at least the major portion of it. It senses, well, in addition to turning on the fan, the blower that cools the power amplifier right down here, it also senses whether there's AC voltage present. Oh, that was kind of neat. I don't know where I dropped that, but that was really cool. It senses whether there's AC voltage present. If there is no AC voltage present, it automatically reduces the power of the output transmitter so that it doesn't overheat. The power amplifier, I should say.
K9PQ, K9PQ, and 9GBF, and 9 Golf, Bravo, Foxtrot, over.
The other thing it does is senses whether there's a fan failure. There is in here a fan sensor. There's a vane inside of this and a fan sensor. If there is no fan air pressure, it reduces the power output level so that the power amplifier doesn't overheat. You notice there's a cable that runs down here and eventually plugs into the power control board. This is the power amplifier, and what it does is it's the whole transmitter assembly. It starts out this end with the exciter, which is responsible for creating your RF signal. and multiplying it up to the proper frequency. It also has the modulator in it. This is the power amplifier block, and this is the power control board. This, of course, is the heatsink for this whole mess. And here's the shroud that directs the fan, the airflow across it. This is part of the main repeater deck. This is the Motorola portion of it. It's fully equipped to operate without the ACC controller by use of plugging these two modules in. It has a built-in timer for timeout, and it also has a keyer, an IDer in there as well.
Roger, old man.
Roger. Okay. This is a Motorola test set, and all it does is allow us to diagnose. You notice there are a number of these square rectangular openings. It allows us to diagnose anything, any transmitter or receiver or control parameter with it. Right now we're monitoring the amount of limiter current, which is an indication of incoming signal strength. This is the receiver deck right here. And this is the audio and squelch board. You notice our test set cable is plugged into the receiver. These are local controls for volume and squelch, which really are meant to be operated without the presence of the controller. So they really are not used. The squelch adjustment is active, but the volume really doesn't do much. This is the power supply. It's a switch mode battery reverting power supply. In the event that the AC power fails, it will automatically revert over to a battery, which we do not have hooked up currently, but we will in the future because we're awaiting the arrival of another cabinet. Now, if you wait a few minutes, you probably want to cut your tape for a moment.
That's
the guts of the repeater here. This is our power box, which supplies power to two things: the blower, which is controlled by this triac, which is essentially a solid state relay, and it also distributes power on a constant basis to the power supply of the receiver, or the repeater rather. This is our interconnect board. This is a DB25 connector for each unit here. Everything plugs into this: the controller, the DVR, each link radio, and any accessories that go to the outside world, like the temperature sensor, which connects into this back panel here, as well as the alarm system. These are fuses for each link radio, and these are the terminals with feed-through capacitors, which filter out noise and radio frequencies for our battery when it gets hooked up. Now, we're going to put this up in place, and we'll take a look directly below it where you'll see the three link radios. These are three Motorola high-core radios that are all set up on slide-out mounts for serviceability. They lock in here and hinge out for service. There's one for the north repeater. There's one for the Algoma repeater to link us to the Algoma repeater. And then, of course, here's our auto patch receiver. Way down at the bottom, there's some additional electronics that you may not be able to see. There's a receive preamp right down there beneath that red piece of cardboard. And this red piece of cardboard is simply to keep the metal blower duct from touching the circuitry. And right below it, you'll see the receive preamp, which is specially modified, in the bottom of the power supply. And that pretty well takes care of this portion of the repeater tour. You can cut the tape.
that ever-essential ground connection cables.
This is
The 19-inch pieces of wire into connecting everything.
Are you rolling it?
Sure.
Oh.
I can edit.
Okay. This is the duplexer cabinet. A Wacom 4-cavity duplexer. The antenna comes from out of doors, naturally. And it's split off into receive and transmit antenna connections. And
it does
And it allows us to use a receiver and a transmitter on one antenna
Roger.
simultaneously, which is really neat. And that is all there is to see of that portion of the repeater. The whole point behind a duplexer is that there are 4 very selective filters, and they are set to pass only a certain amount of band and stop a great deal of band activity. And that being your transmitter is blocked from getting to your receiver, and your receiver frequency is notched out of your transmitter, which makes it, of course, highly selective, and that allows you the an additional measure of selectivity that you wouldn't ordinarily have if you were using, say, 2 separate antennas. They're very critical in tuning, but it's well worth the price because you get so much benefit out of it.
Light, do you?
Sure. Well, what's that gonna do? Nothing? Shows the distant lights away.
Say what?
Showed the
Power supply. The power supply, all it does is operate the repeater. The repeater is in this cabinet right here. Below that is the controller. The controller is just a small little module, which is only about 6 inches deep and about 1 inch high, and about 12 inches wide. And that's all the controller is, just right there, that very small thing. On the bottom is your duplexers. Your duplexers are the input to the signal so that you can transmit on the same antenna that you're receiving on at the same time. You can transmit and receive at the same time on the same antenna. Cavities, they notch out one of the frequencies and they pass the other one. As an example, this one here is the notch cavity and this is the bandpass cavity. So this is the notch cavity, this is the notch cavity for the high frequency, and this is the bandpass for the low frequency. If you look in the back, seems like a lot of wires, but this is the repeater, that's all it is. It's a modified Skywarn radio. Half of the receiver, half of it's the receiver, and the other half is the transmitter. Just put a little COR line in there, so that anytime it receives something, it activates the PTT switch, closes contacts, and transmits out again. So it's transmitting and receiving at the same time. And this is just the back side of the cavity. We have a phone line. There's a phone line connected to it. And that's all there is to the repeater. There isn't much to it. These cavities are about 50 watt cavities. That's why we only have about 30 watts out on our transmitter, because cavities can only handle about 30 watts. You're looking at 100 watt cavities, you're looking at cavities that could be about this tall and about that big around. So you might want to think about what size would be about $800 if that's it. That's new though. That's new. That's right. Used cavities, of course, will be a lot less money. But you want to.
Hello, you don't be able to read it. That'd be good. Get rides mowing. Where? They just passed. Okay. That was junky. Guy, look out. Stay behind me. Guy, look out. Faster, faster, run, run. Guy, when you walk, I can feel the whole thing vibrate. God dear. I can't get it all. Where? Sit there. Good old ride. Hiking to school. Yeah, let me get a watch Maz pull up. Right here, guys, the highest point of school. Not many people can say they're up this high. Guten Tag, Andrew. Sparky. This is the view on top of the Schule. Over here is the Grace Hill. Ow! Dork. You can see perfect line of sight. Right now we're standing at the highest point of school. Not necessarily where the tower will be, but hike that tower up here and you'll be pretty hiking. There's Parkview Middle School over there, 10-4. If you look over there, you can see trees in the way, but Heritage Hill is right over in that area. If you look over there, you can see all of the Fort Howard. There's hospitals right over there. Yeah, the hospital's right over here. Holy wow. Zoom in really close here. See if we can see the N9II repeater. Gotta figure out how Green Bay is lined up over here, but I use repeaters somewhere over in here, I guess. But there's the water tower, and you know, You got pretty good view over there. This is like the Ashwaubenon Library, and you swing around over here, and you got Highway 41 hiking through there, like
10-4.
all the Bobby Lee mobiles there. And pretty good coverage around here, I'd estimate. Get it a little higher than that water tower over there. Pretty good skyline, Ashwaubenon skyline. Old man.
10-4.
They're not doing much.